So this is Sam Logue here for Green Blood Boxing, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Tyrone McCullagh, White Chocolate. Fair play, man. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it.
No bother. Pleasure to be here.
Good man. Come here. How are you getting on? Isolation times, a little bit difficult for everyone, of course, but how have you been managing it, and kind of what's your situation been like?
It's just I'm on the same boat as everyone, really. Just taking over, getting out the odd run here and there, and thankfully I'm starting back with Pete Taylor tomorrow, doing a few outside sessions with him, which will be a bit different, but it's just about a nightmare for everyone. It's put everyone's careers on hold, myself included, and I'm just itching to get back at it, and can't wait to see the back of it.
Yeah, 100%, man. I echo that sentiment with you there. I seen the guys actually. Yeah, they're doing a bit of training down here in Dublin. Out in the fields and stuff. That it looks very interesting. All right, is there kind of limitations to that kind of training? Do you think? But they seem to be doing a bit of touch sparring and stuff. But is there limitations to that kind of training, or?
I'm not too sure, especially with the rules obviously across the border we use. I know everyone's different with this virus, but I'm not, as I said, but I'm just done with it. Like, I'm happy to get back sparring, or if the chance comes, I'm willing to take that risk. And
yeah, I suppose there's a lot of other precautions that you can take as well, to make sure everyone is kind of sanitized and stuff like that. But I mean,
100%, and I think I've already had it, so I do.
Really, yeah. There's a lot of people saying that, actually, funny enough, that they think they had it like months ago, because they had
when it was first starting off, I was with my brothers at the minute. I was with my brother. Yeah. He's a nurse as well, and he started to get really tired, and then he said his taste went, and I was with him like a week before that, and I got the exact same symptoms. I was really, really tired for a few days, couldn't taste my food, and he went and got tested, and he had it. So I just thought, well, I have it as well.
More than likely, eh? I mean, if he's got tested and had it, then you probably have had it. Which I presume, I think, like, a lot of people still don't know too much about it, and I obviously have no medical background. I know you actually are a nurse, so you maybe have a little bit more knowledge on it than I do. But I'm not sure too. Like, if you've had it already, is there more? Can you get it again, or possibly you can, but maybe you've built up antibodies then at that stage, so maybe it's not as bad the next time around, or?
Yeah, I think it was just, I don't think there's any sure answer on that, but my opinion on it would be that obviously if you've had it now, just say I did have it, I'm 99% sure I did. I think you'd be all right for 6 months or so anyway, because you have built up antibodies. But something like the cold, once you've had that one, you can get that twice a year maybe, could you?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this would be something similar.
Yeah, I would say so. I wouldn't be giving advice. God, my knowledge is very is very bad. But no, do you know what? That's actually it's an interesting thing that I wanted to touch on as well. Is that you've worked as a nurse. I know you're not actually working at the moment. Is that right? Is it like a psychiatric nurse, or?
It's a mental health nurse. Yeah.
Mental health nurse.
No, I'm not working at the minute. My mum wouldn't keep well, and it's just a bit too risky, to be in and out of hospitals and that. Even though it is only mental health, but you be seeing patients all the same and in and out of people's houses.
100%. Yeah, you don't want to risk it at all. But that's one thing I wanted to touch on, actually, was I saw the interview that you did with IrishBoxing.com last week, which is got a bit political, and you were kind of criticising Leo Varadkar and Boris Johnson, which I thought was interesting. But coming from the point of view of someone who's worked in the NHS and actually worked in healthcare, you know what I mean? I thought it was really, really interesting. But like, what's your kind of view on the kind of the workers in the front line and how they're being treated now? And I liked kind of what you were talking about how they're being kind of championed at the moment, all of these frontline workers and healthcare workers. But in the past, they still had bad conditions. All these nurses and healthcare workers are underpaid, understaffed, underappreciated. But now they're being championed. But you seem to say in your interview that you don't think anything is going to change. Do you think that's the case? Yeah, like.
100%. You think Boris? I don't know if you've seen it. I think Boris showed it yesterday. He's trying to charge foreign NHS workers. It's something like I forget the words went out of my head now, but
yeah,
a surcharge for foreign NHS workers in the UK, the same ones that looked after them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it came under that much criticism for it that he had to scrap it and do away with it. And he only put it out yesterday. So that just goes to show you the type of person he is. He's a hypocrite, because the way he's treated the NHS the last year or so, or the stuff that he's done, try to block their pay rise, and
saw you mention that as well. Yeah,
and then he's heaping praise on them the last. Don't get me wrong, they deserve the praise, every single one of them, but heaping praise on them, like clapping on his doorstep, means nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
And I can guarantee if you asked any other NHS worker, they'd say the same.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And you used the word hypocrisy a few times, and I'd have to agree with you, because when you're going out kind of trying to actively put in bills to block pay rises and that kind of thing, and look, I probably shouldn't comment on this, but I'm not sure, but I think the Conservatives are kind of leaning for the privatisation of the NHS as well. If I'm correct there, I mean, like, then to kind of come around, and that's the kind of disingenuous, if you want. That's definitely not a word, but there's no genuinity in that. Then in him coming out and kind of championing the NHS when he's actively, continuously tried to block pay rises and kind of do negative things for the NHS, and it just shows the hypocrisy and the lack of genuineness in politics as well. And if the lack of the trust in politicians is at an all-time low, then actions like this from a leader of like a big country is really really bad, in my opinion. So I don't know if you agree with that sentiment, but
I do 100%. He's just making up balls of it, and he's showing himself up, I think. But at the same time, it's I'll have to say British public. I wouldn't consider myself British, but obviously it's different here. But it's
of
the
course,
public in England who've voted him in. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully something like this. It's sad to say it takes something like this, but hopefully this shows the public what he's really like, and they wise up when it comes to voting next time, because like the NHS is the backbone, and they're doing an incredible job over this with this pandemic, and I just hope that when it comes to voting, it's in the forefront of people's minds.
Yeah, you'd have to hope so. Like, and hopefully, like the likes of yourself, kind of coming out and guys coming out and kind of pointing out the hypocrisy and this is kind of lack of honesty and genuinity will help to push that sentiment and make people realize that they continuously vote for Conservative Party, or continuously vote for these guys who actually have no interest in them, no interest in preserving their NHS. Excuse me, you know what I mean? No interest in actually serving the people. And I know we're kind of a little off topic from boxing here, but I think it's actually really important. You know what I mean? And it's nice to see someone like yourself, who, especially obviously up in Northern Ireland, I know you're from Derry, like around that neck of the woods, you would obviously have a very big profile, and it's important for people to come out and actually talk about these things. So I have a lot of admiration for you for doing that, to be honest, and I think it's important that especially sports people, because they are such big personalities and important figures in society, that they come out and they say what they feel, and also speak out against politicians or government who are not serving the people. So fair play. We'll get away from the politics and we'll talk about the boxing, because people will switch off. But no,
we can talk about politics all day.
Yeah, you could shy on. I mean, to be honest, I probably have no right to be talking about politics. I don't know enough about it, but look, we'll move on anyway. You obviously, yourself and Tyrone McCullagh, two guys who are obviously like massive personalities, kind of larger than life, always pranking, always kind of acting the fool. As fans, we absolutely love that. But I'm trying to think about questions for you, and I'm thinking, you must really miss the gym, the camaraderie, and even like McKenna as a really good friend of yours. How have you been managing, and like kind of how much have you missed the training environment and even just the banter with the lads, and specifically McKenna?
Well, it is really, really difficult. Don't get me wrong. It's just like a way of life, obviously, because you're a routine for me would be, so I have a fight and then I have a few weeks off and then you get back down on the camp and then you get a fight date and you're in a full proper camp. Then I'd be training in Dublin 5 days a week, home at the weekends.
Yeah.
But now I'm just home at the weekends, back down to Dublin on Monday, and that's, as you say, the Panthers brilliant. Tyrone McCullagh is one of my best mates. Get on brilliant with him, and the crack's unreal. But now I'm just sitting in the house all day and watching Netflix, getting out one run, just which is the baseline. Maybe that I could probably be doing a bit more, but lacking the motivation as well. It is tough times, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, obviously. But
definitely,
I'm finding it difficult. But I'm not getting too down about it, or I'm trying not to get too down about it. But
100%.
I would say it's going to be very difficult for a lot of other people's mental health as well. They're not just, I'm not saying this is again about not just boxers, but anyone that's been stuck in the house for this period of time. It's going to
Absolutely.
take a toll on them.
100%, 100%, and it's a very important thing to talk about as well, in my opinion. I actually spoke to Eric Donovan the other day, and we're going to get on to speak a little bit about him, because I know there's been a little bit of talk about you guys fighting, but I spoke to him and he made a very good point. He's had some struggles with mental health in his past, and to this day, I think if you have any struggles with mental health, it can always kind of come back, and I think people struggle on a daily basis with things like that. But it really is, in a time like this when people are isolated and they really have like no options, it is something that comes to the forefront, and it's really important to talk about it. I mean, do you have any kind of anything that you've been doing? I mean, it seems there that you have kind of struggled with motivation, like to get out and train and stuff. Is there anything that you've kind of tried to actively do to combat those feelings, like to try and make yourself kind of feel better and deal with the maybe feelings of depression or feelings of lack of motivation?
Well, funnily enough, as you said, it was just yesterday. So what day was yesterday? What day is today? Thursday, Wednesday. Yeah. I took Sunday off. I always take Sundays off. I done a very small run on Monday, and then Tuesday I done nothing again. And Wednesday I woke up and I was just like, I couldn't be bothered training again. And I thought, no, you've barely done anything since we're halfway through the week here. So I done that 5K. And I've done it as fast as I could, and people were actually loving the time I got there. I got a lot of messages about it.
I wanted to touch on that, actually. Yeah.
And then it's funny because I've done that run, and I got a lot of positive feedback about it. I went out and done another long run. Then that night, I went a really long run this morning. So I think if you just sort of force yourself to get over the hump a wee bit, it'll just start falling on the place then. And I'm looking forward to getting down to Dublin tomorrow, and I've been eating clean. It's just that I think that is key. Is see, when you break routine, it's so hard to get stuck in a rut, and that is what a lot of people, including myself, you get in a wee rut in this, and then you get out of it, and then you get in a rut because there is no routine. There's nothing they really get up and go at it for. But I really believe routine's key.
100%, and that's something that pretty much all the guys that I spoke to have echoed that sentiment. That it's all about routine, especially in times like this when there's a lack of routine kind of being built around you. So like when you're in Dublin, or you're training because well, that's what I do when I train, and it's there. The gym is there, everyone's training, so the structure is kind of built. It's already built for you to kind of just step into, and it's there. You know what I mean? Like a cycle that's just there. Whereas in times like this, you have to make your own structure. You have to create your own structure, and that obviously is difficult.
That's exactly it.
It's absolutely key, 100%. But I want to touch on that run, and it's funny you say that. And to be honest, like the fact that you've kind of not been doing too much training, and then you got those times. What was the time again? You did 5K, and like, what was the time?
27 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I done just over 5K. I reckon I would have got about 15:20, maybe 15:15. Well, say about 15:20 for the 5K.
15 minutes and 20 seconds for 5K. That's like ridiculous time though, and it's like a really, really fast time. like I have a mate of mine is a really good runner, and he's not running that speed, like, and he's running like marathons, and he's trains every day, like he's a really, really good runner, and he's getting better and better and better. But you're running like, and I know you're obviously a professional athlete, but I mean that's like a ridiculous time. Have you always been kind of good at running, or?
I see what happened was I live in Derry, and it's a bit of a hilly city, so it is.
Yeah.
And I've always, since as long as I can remember, since I started boxing, I've struggled with weight, as you've probably seen. So just the best way of losing weight is going out and running. And I was running every day and just got good at it. And then as I got there about 17 or 18, my club coaches back then were saying, look, there's a road race on the Saturday, you might as well come down and enter it, you know, makes your training up a bit, or makes your running up a bit. And I thought, why not? And then entered a road race and won it, and then they entered another one and won that, and I was like, fuck, I'm actually good at this. But
That's jokes, man.
the only thing is, I probably will dip my toes on the run after boxing, because I don't see that run I done yesterday, that 5k. Like, anytime I'm running, it would be a lot longer at a slower pace. Do you know what I mean? Because it's more boxing specific. But I never really run at that pace. Like, I run at that pace maybe 2 or 3 times a year at most. So if I practice for it, I know I could get a good bit more off it.
100%. What about a career in running, eh? Athletics career.
That's it. Something like a day after boxing.
Yeah, maybe, man. Marathons, something I learned recently, most marathon runners are like above the age of like 33 or something like that. Like all the top marathon runners, they're all older. Like, so there you go, man. If you feel years, make a few quid in boxing, retire, get into the marathon running.
That's it.
Come here. I want to move on now and just kind of go on to talk about your most recent fight. Obviously, you were in the Golden Contract, the MTK Global Golden Contract tournament. Featherweights, you moved up from super bantamweight to featherweight to go into the tournament. Really high class tournament, to be fair. Lot of really good names in it. You got to the semi final, and unfortunately, you were knocked out by Ryan Walsh. It was a good. I actually watched the fight today. It was a good fight, a fight that you started really, really well in. Looking back on it, I'm sure you've watched it. What do you think now, looking back on it? What do you think kind of happened, and maybe what went wrong for you in the fight?
I think I was cruising the first 5 rounds. I really don't think I lost around the first 5 rounds, and then obviously the punch you hit me in the 6th changed it. I've never hit like that before, ever.
Yeah.
I know it was put down against Joe Ham, but that was more of a flash knockdown. This was a proper knockdown, and having never been hit like that before, I got up, and I think I sort of went in the survival mode a bit. And as I say, Walsh landed next to nothing until that shot. But once he landed that shot, he just knew that he could get to me. You know, I think he just stopped worrying. He just started walking me down, and his experience told, because that was his experience kicked in there, and my lack of experience didn't. I sort of went in my shell, went in the survival mode a bit.
Yeah.
And
bit of a momentum shift when it you could kind of see it happen, and I get where you're coming from, and it was a very, very good punch. It was kind of I think it was an overhand right, very, very powerful. Coming out of a clinch, exactly. Yeah, really, really powerful.
Although that second droppage, that shouldn't have been counted. He caught me a good shot, but then he clinged on me and just sort of pushed me to the ground. The referee wasn't going to count. I seen the referee about to tell me to get up, but the boy outside the ring
started counting. Yeah.
But it wouldn't have made a difference to the fight anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting to hear you say that, but it was a bit of a, must have been a tough one for you, and I've seen you kind of come out since then and say that you did kind of struggle with it, you know, in the weeks kind of afterwards. It's kind of difficult mentally for you to deal with that loss. I mean, what was that like? I mean, I think that's the kind of the side of boxing that a lot of people don't see. You know what I mean? They see the fight night, they see maybe some of the antics, but they don't see, you know, when the likes of someone like yourself, you know, you lose a big fight and then you're kind of at home for 2 weeks. Then after that, and they don't see that. They don't see the boxer's thoughts and feelings and what you're going through. So I don't know. I don't want you to like relive kind of bad memories, but if you can kind of give us what's that like, you know, can you give us an insight into that, you know, because that's just, as I say, it's something we don't really see.
It was very tough. Like, obviously, any loss is going to be tough, but
Yeah.
It was my first loss, and I just started to relive the fight a bit in my head. After the first couple of days of it, I started to think, was it just a lapse in concentration? If I had just kept my composure in that sixth round, could have broke his heart for the rest of the fight and cruised to one. And then started thinking what if and buts, and then my mates were texting me and I was just ignoring their messages and not replying to anyone. Don't even know if I was reading their messages, and it's just basically lying in my room. It's a bit of a blur, but I don't know what I was like. It was for about 10 days or so. I barely left the room, but I don't even know what I was doing. I think I was just lying there. I'm not going to say depressed. I wasn't depressed. It's too strong a word, but it was very, very down.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's something we don't see, and and how do you come out of that slump? Do you just kind of come out naturally? Do you just kind of get over it in your own time, or?
Well, what happened with me is my dad started to notice, and my dad, all my family are mental health nurses, so my dad started to notice, the way I was getting on, and then he knocked in my room one evening at about 6:30, and I think I was completely just sleeping, sparked out, again, not been in routine, up all night probably, sleeping all day, and they seen I was sleeping at 6:30 in the evening, and the next day came into my room and says, can I have a word with you, and took me downstairs for a talk. And my dad has suffered from manic depression in the past.
Okay.
Although he's kept it under control the last 29 years, and he says he woke up that night and started worrying about me and started to get a bit worried and agitated himself. And I thought, if I'm the reason he gets unwell again after 30 years of being okay, I couldn't live with it. So what I said to myself, that even if I am feeling like this, around him, I'll start to act as if I'm okay or I'm getting better. And then so I started replying to my mates saying I'm going out with them. Once I started doing that and acting happier, I just became a bit. Myself up a bit.
Well, I suppose once you start surrounding yourself with people and people who you like and who mean something to you, then all of a sudden, naturally your mood's going to pick up and you start to feel a bit better. But so that you kind of came to terms with the loss as such, kind of more naturally then than something kind of clicking specifically. I mean, an interesting thing for me is like you kind of took, maybe it could be seen as a bit of a risk to step up to featherweight, which is, you weren't campaigning at featherweight, you're going back down to super bantamweight. Is that correct?
Not officially. I'm really considering it. I want to personally, but it's a decision that needs to be spoke with Pete and Jamie. I've been meaning to, before all this happened, Jamie rang me and it was heading off to New York soon for a mixed fight, and I says we'll get a good sit down, Jamie, once you're back from New York and see what's next. But all this happened then, and here we are.
Yeah, and you haven't been able to have a chat with him since. I'm sure
we've exchanged a few messages now, but haven't got to sit down with each other, which is probably what you should do when discussing future options.
Yeah, have like a proper meeting. But yeah, I had read somewhere that you were kind of at least heavily considering moving back down. But what I wanted to kind of go into was, when you kind of weigh up the risk versus reward for going into the tournament and stepping up from where you were at super bantamweight, do you think that you think it paid off? You think, even though you lost in the semi-final, do you think in terms of not just financially, but also profile-wise, media following-wise, do you think it was worth the risk to step up?
Oh, 100%. Don't get me wrong, I'm devastated not to be in the final. I always believed in myself, believed I could have won it.
Yeah.
So at the time, I believed I was going to do it, but in hindsight now, like, bar Davey, my stablemate now, bar Davey, I think most fighters in there had double my fights. And as you say, I stepped up a bit. They're all a lot more experienced than me.
Yeah.
And I got 2 fights in Sky Sports, decent pay packets, and I don't think I done any shame in myself. I thought I'd give a good account of myself, and my stock rose a bit. I've absolutely no regrets.
100%. Yeah, that's obviously that's the best thing, and is that at least when you can kind of look back and take, and it's like you say silver lining, but I think it's more than that. Like, I think it's like a genuine, like, very, very big, almost tangible positive to take from it. You know what I mean? Like, as you say, fighting on the I mean, let's face it, the biggest platform in the UK and Ireland, and probably Europe for boxing, Sky Sports. And as you said, and I think particularly the Ryan Walsh fight was a big. That's a big fight. Like, that's a big kind of domestic fight. So yeah, your stock can only rise in that situation. So I suppose then, like, where do you go from here? So have you thought? I mean, you said you haven't really sat down with Jamie. That's Jamie Conlon, who was your manager, with MTK Global, but you haven't particularly sat down yet to maybe map anything out. But have you thought, like, there's maybe certain titles you want to go for, or a certain way you want to maneuver now through your career?
Well, I know I probably would have wanted a warm-up fight or a handy-ish fight after my first defeat anyway, to get the confidence back up and that. But I definitely do want a warm-up fight now after all that's been going on and the lack of training I've been doing, and again, just to get the confidence up a wee bit, hopefully. Nothing, I don't mean a journeyman, I mean a fight where maybe I'll be favourite or should win, like a fight like that. But
I get you, yeah.
and then after that, Jamie said that if these shows go ahead in late July or start of August, I'll be on one of them. So
perfect.
After that, then I would like to start working towards another big fight towards the end of the year, say October, November.
Yeah. And are there, like,
right back in the mix?
Yeah, just kind of get back in the mix. And are there, like, certain titles in mind? I know that you were the Celtic Super Bantamweight title, right? You Celtic Super Bantamweight champion, and also the WBO European Super Bantamweight champion. But is there certain titles that you have in mind, like maybe the European title, like the EBU title, or the British Super Bantamweight title, or the Irish title? Is there any kind of pathway in terms of titles that you're looking at, or?
Not necessarily. Obviously, I would have no interest in fighting for the British title. But any of those, I don't know if they were called gateway titles, but the likes of the WBO, although that's held by Davey, obviously me and him wouldn't cross paths, or any of those IBFs or any belts like that get you a good ranking. With
Intercontinental
the
titles.
So then you can push on and get up because I think before I entered that Golden Contract, I was fifth in the world with the WBO. So there could be another WBO belt that could go for that would get me right back in there.
Definitely. I mean, the WBO have, like, the Intercontinental and the international titles and stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if you can have both of them at the same time, but I mean, you can definitely go that route. And it's the WBO route, kind of one that you've been targeting. Obviously, you would still be recognized and ranked with the WBO. So would you kind of be looking to go back down that route?
Yeah, I think, I don't have too much knowledge and all that, to be honest, but I think it would make the most sense, or be the most straightforward, since I already have been ranked with them, pretty highly ranked with them. But again, that's really just down to Jamie. He knows all that. I don't know much on that side of boxing, so I don't, unfortunately.
You're the fighter and you fight, as you say. Like, no, that's fair enough, I suppose. Yeah, fair enough. What was it that I was going to move on to there? Yeah, an interesting fight that's been mentioned is the Eric Donovan fight, perhaps. I know I was chatting to Eric the other day, and he was talking to irishboxing.com as well, and he had kind of just mentioned a few names, not in any kind of a call-out way, really, but you've probably seen it yourself. What do you think of that fight? And I think the interesting thing about that, and maybe what makes it slightly more realistic, is the idea that maybe we might only have domestic fights for the foreseeable future if movement between kind of countries is limited and stuff. So is that a fight that interests you?
Well, I'll just say the same thing I said the Irish boxing, because they asked me the same thing, really. But at the minute, it doesn't really interest me, because I don't get me wrong, I have a lot of time for Eric. I love him in Kazakhstan. We're in the WSB, and then we're an Irish team together. But obviously, boxing. There's when it comes to fighting, there's no mates, and I know there's no malice in his college with anyone. Probably Eric's not that type of guy. He's just maybe times against him a bit, and he's wanting these type of fights. But as I said, I entered that Golden Contract. I took, as you say, a big risk, and some people say it didn't pay off. I think it did.
Yeah.
But for myself now, as I said, I want a hand-ish fight, or a comfortable enough fight to start back off, and I think Eric wouldn't fall in that category. He's very, very talented.
No,
And
yeah, definitely wouldn't fall into that category.
my chance to fight Eric would have been in that golden contract, but I think we actually would have crossed paths. I'm not sure. I think he was offered to be first reserve, and
Okay.
then he said no.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
then I ended up fighting the first reserve, in the quarterfinals.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure if that's 100% true, or maybe it was just offered to be in it. I don't know, but for Eric had his reasons, he turned it down.
Yeah.
So and now I'm basically obviously going to go a different route. I'm not going to drop back down, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it doesn't really interest me.
Yeah, just not, and it seems like, as you said there, you're looking to get a fight that is kind of a very winnable fight, not necessarily a dream, but a very winnable fight for you, get you back on track. But
And
even
then push
after,
on for
like,
it.
yeah, and then just kind of to push on. So it's just
Yeah,
unfortunately not a fight that really interests you. But look,
yeah.
it's
And
interesting.
what I think is difficult for Eric, and it's an unlucky place to be in,
Yeah,
is Eric wouldn't be very highly ranked, but he's very, very good. So a lot
yeah,
of people would probably see him as very high risk but low reward, and be like, "What's the point?" He
yeah.
knows that himself, I would say.
Yeah, he's in a bit of an unfortunate position, and
100%.
that's why he in his head he probably thinks he has to call the names a
Yeah,
bit more, be a little bit more vocal, and it makes 100% sense as well.
yeah,
And as you say, he's a little bit older, and he's 34 odd, and not that he you could see any kind of aging in him at the moment, but not from what I've seen of Eric. But yeah, maybe he's kind of a little older, a little further down the path, and wants to kind of get the names and get the fights.
yeah.
Whereas maybe yourself, you have a little bit more time. But yeah, it would, if it was to happen, it would be a good fight. But obviously not on the cards for yourself at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to kind of maybe to make it a little lighter, because it's been, we've talked about a few kind of not touchy subjects, but kind of serious subjects. The Tyrone Olympics is something that caught my eye a few months back. Can you kind of just talk to us about the Tyrone Olympics? Obviously, it's between yourself and Tyrone McCullagh. Can you just like walk us through, for the people who've never heard about this before? Tell us what the Tyrone Olympics is and kind of what it entails.
It's is it 6 events between me and Tyrone McCullagh? There's Jaeger bomb challenge and eating challenge. All these different sorts of challenges. I forget them now. We've done a few of them actually. We've done
You
3.
told me, yeah, you told me a couple of weeks ago that you've done two of them, I think.
No, 3. We've definitely done 3. But
3, is it? Okay.
it just comes down to him. It keeps losing to me. He lost that bet where he had to get a tattoo of me. Any bet we
Yeah.
do, he loses. And then so I won the bet where he had to get the tattoo, and then he turns around like a week later and goes, "You need to get a tattoo of me now." I was like, what was the point in the bet then? No, you need to get one. So then he came up with this. He's always trying to get one over on me. He came up with the Tyrone Olympics, and whoever loses the majority of these events has to officially change their name to Tyrone number 2.
Oh man, like on the passport, like proper legitimate, right? Oh mate, that's
I'm
gonna
telling you,
be
his missus is
hilarious.
going to chuck him out soon because he keeps losing and he's going to get sick of it. They had to shave his eyebrows there last week because of it.
Oh yeah, did he
We
get?
played
You
we
played
played a game
poker,
of
was it?
poker. And first day go out had to shave their eyebrows. He's a terrible poker player.
He doesn't seem to
He
make
never
very good
learned.
decisions, does he? Oh man, and can you tell us what the challenges are? Or I know there was like the McDonald's double cheeseburgers. Who could eat
Who
the
can eat
most
the
in one
most?
sitting?
Uh, that. Who can do the most Jaeger bombs without being sick? What else is there? There's like arcade games down the bowl now, like basketball machine, bowling.
Yeah.
They're all tied and they won. Whoever wins the most of them. What else is there? There's 3 more. Who can down the most slush puppies in a certain amount of time? I'm not looking forward to that one. I forget the other 2, and he'll know them.
That's jokes, man. That is brilliant. I mean, and you're documenting this, right? So you have your own cameraman. McKenna said it. Tyrone said it
He's
to
got
me before, but I
Ali
forget his name.
McKenzie coming around and
McKenzie.
money on us.
That's brilliant, man. And so he said you've recorded, the first 2 or 3 already. You said you were saying 3 there, and you're going to kind of continue to do them and then kind of release them kind of 2 a week for 3 weeks or something like that.
You see, we had these 3 done, and then we were going to do the other 3, but again, all this happened. It's putting a hold on everything, so it is.
Oh man,
and
yeah.
now we probably won't be able to do the likes of the egg bomb challenge and that, because we'll be back in camp, so we'll have to wait until camp's over again.
You can squeeze it in. Come on. Think of all the benefits. Don't tell Pete, man. Yeah, nobody will tell Pete. Another kind of quirky, but for me it was just pure genius and hilarious, to be honest. Kind of thing about you is you sponsor a panda in China called Just Dave.
Just Dave.
Talk to us a little bit about your relationship with Just Dave, mate, and how this came about, because it was an IFL TV interview, and anyone who's remotely into boxing knows who IFL TV are. Obviously, like the leaders in the game, pretty much, of like this kind of thing. The kind of the interviewing in the boxing realm. But you were talking to one of the guys. I think it may have been Coogan, and you just kind of came out with this story. So can you tell this is going to be for more, say, Irish viewers who maybe don't know about this?
I've always liked pandas, and started there's these pages on Instagram. I'm telling you need to get on them. Just panda lovers and stuff like that. See, pandas are the most funny animal in the world. They're most so stupid. They fall off trees about 20 foot high, and they just get up and walk away and stuff. They're brilliant. So I started sponsoring one, got to name him, and he writes me letters and stuff. So now my outfit in the quarterfinals, you seen, was panda shorts.
Oh, it's excellent, man. And Tyrone McCullagh came out behind the banner with the panda head on. You're a pair of bleeding wagons. These are bleeding hilarious, man. I have to say, like, most entertaining duo in boxing, like, hands down. You need your own TV program, man. I'm telling you.
Everyone said that. You two need your own TV program. You need to look at this.
It would be unbelievable, man. It'd be so funny just following you two around in camp and stuff. You know what I mean? It's just all the stuff you get up to, and oh my god, it'd be absolute jokes, bro. I think you need to get that organised, yeah.
Definitely. A YouTube channel or something, at least.
Yeah, definitely. Even like a YouTube channel, just kind of like a running documentary kind of series. You know what I mean? 100%, man. Get someone to edit that stuff. No problem. But the name is interesting, Just Dave. Where did the name for Just Dave come about?
I don't know where I came out of it. Someone said Dave, and I said, no, Just Dave. And then Just Dave stuck.
Had you a few Jager bombs in you when you made that decision?
I'd say so.
Oh, mate. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, this is what it's about, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I encourage everyone to sponsor a panda. You know, they're... I don't think they're in danger no more. Maybe I've brought them down a level, but they're definitely like a high-risk animal or something like that.
Yeah, since you did that interview, I think the amount of people sponsoring pandas went up dramatically.
Or even just follow their pages on Instagram. They're brilliant animals.
I'm going to have to check it out now. I've never really been too interested in pandas, but I'm going to have to check it out now.
Definitely.
Oh, God, man. Look, we'll move on just to talk a little bit more about boxing, and then I'm going to let you go because I've already taken up, I'm not even sure how much of your time at the moment.
No problem.
A good bit, and I appreciate it, bro. Kind of possible matchups is something that I think is really interesting for you. I think you've got a lot of, I just think it's kind of an open pathway at the moment, you know what I mean? You're not 100% sure exactly if you're going to go back to super bantamweight, if you're going to stay at featherweight. It kind of seems to be a little in the air, maybe lean towards super bantamweight. But there's a lot of kind of interesting matchups in the kind of British and Irish scene, and obviously on the world scene. I mean, I have a couple of names there. I mean, obviously in Ireland, the kind of one name that sticks out at super bantam is TJ Donovan. Obviously, former IBF champion, fought in the unification fight against Danny Roman for, I think it was the WBA, and obviously his own IBF title at the time. Had a really, really good fight, a close fight, and obviously, unfortunately, lost the fight, and since has lost as well. In his most recent fight, which is probably was unexpected and a bit of a surprise to most people. But is that a fight that would interest you in the near future? I mean,
Oh, definitely. I think it's no secret me and TJ have exchanged words before and went back and forth.
Oh
But
yeah.
one of the last mails he sent me was saying, "I'll never fight you now. You've blew your chance or whatever." But
Okay, I've somehow managed to miss this, and I'm not sure how.
oh, would have been over a year ago now. But it's just a lot of stuff was said, and maybe I'm wrong. I mentioned his name since I won the WBO European. I mentioned his name a lot because he was world champion, and
Irish world champion, 100%.
I wanted an
Makes sense.
Irish unification fight. Obviously not right away, but I kept mentioning he took. I wouldn't say it was a compliment, but obviously if you're world champion, people's going to be saying they want to fight you. Like there's no bad blood on it, but he took got his back up a bit, and
Okay.
then I got my back up a bit, and there was back and forth. But he
So
says the last meal he sent me before he blocked me, he says I'll never fight you now or whatever. But maybe since that last shock defeat, his opinions changed. Obviously he didn't need to fight me when I was world champion. He doesn't need to fight me now. He's still a massive name, but I think that would be a great fight to make, and it would catch the eye of the Irish public. But
100%.
look, as much as I wouldn't be TJ's biggest fan, it's no secret. I didn't like to see him lose there. I would always back my own before I back some foreigner, and
100%.
it was a shock defeat, and I love to see Ireland do well, despite no matter who it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. We got to back your own.
Don't get me wrong. I wasn't happy to see him beat at all, but maybe that makes the fight a bit more easier to make now.
100%. That's exactly what I was about to say. I mean, maybe that really does make the fight a lot more realistic, and maybe in his head it makes it more realistic as well, which is probably a very important factor because, as you say, him coming from even though he's not world champion anymore, before that last loss, he would have been thinking, okay, I've had a really, really close fight in a unification fight. I'm right up at the top still. I'm one more fight away from challenging again for a world title. So obviously his mentality wouldn't have changed too much at that stage. But after this defeat, maybe it changes slightly, and a fight with yourself, a good domestic fight, and which would be good for him as well, because obviously TJ based out of Australia for most of his career, as far as I'm aware. Maybe isn't as well known in the Irish boxing public. Obviously, a lot of people would know who TJ is, but maybe the more common fan wouldn't maybe know TJ as well as they may know yourself and the likes of the guys who are fighting on the MTK shows and in Britain and Ireland. So it could be a really good route for TJ to get his name out kind of more prominent in Ireland as well. And I think it'd be a great matchup myself, and I think we want to see, and I think it's good for Irish boxing as well to get all of our kind of bigger names, get them in with each other. Let's get you guys fighting each other, because I think Irish boxing is starting to go on the rise again, and if we can get matchups like that, it's only going to do wonders for the sport and making it kind of pushing it more towards mainstream in Ireland again. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think it would do wonders.
No, 100%. I'll go back to what you said about TJ first. I think you had the nail on the head. Like, for being a world champion, a very recent world champion, he's not as well known as he should be maybe here being from Ireland, but that's probably because he's based out in Australia. Like, he wouldn't be as well known as Frampton, obviously, or maybe even the likes of Ryan Burnett, who's our most recent world champions, Katie Taylor as well in the women's scene. So,
of course,
it does deserve a lot of credit, and I'll be honest, he's a fantastic fighter. I fought, Daniel Roman, we thought, right, he won that belt out in Japan, maybe against a guy who not obviously is Japanese, didn't know much of the guy, so we thought, he's fighting Roman now. This isn't a handy one. He's going to get badly beat here, but it ended up in one of the fights of the year and a split decision. So
definitely,
he's done himself a lot of credit there. Then they lose there. I don't know. He was obviously took the eye off the ball maybe in that last fight or underestimated him. Something happened because from going from a split decision to Danny Roman, they losing that guy by 4 or 5 rounds is a bit of a leap.
Yeah.
But as you say, then It would be a great fight for the Irish scene, especially if they only have to have domestic fights for the foreseeable future. It's a great fight to make.
Yeah, definitely.
There is a few great all Irish fights out there. Like there's some whitewater ones obviously that probably won't happen, but there's been John Owen, Carroll mentioned and stuff like that. Just
I was going to touch on. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. I mean, what do you think of that fight? I mean, look, Carroll obviously has Herring in the pipeline. If I'm honest, I haven't seen too much of Herring, but from kind of what I've seen, what I've read, it seems to be like a very winnable fight for Carroll. Obviously, Carroll's pedigree and his class is kind of, it's there to be seen. He's gonna have a chance against anybody he fights. In anywhere in those weight classes, anywhere from super bantam up to super featherweight. That's just Carroll's class. But that fight, if it could happen, Jono against Carroll, how would you see that one going, and who would you be leaning towards, and just what do you think of that fight in general?
It's
a cracker, I think.
I hate to sit on the fence, but it's really, really tough to call. If you had asked me before the Quig fight, I would have said it with Carroll. But the way Jono boxed against Quig was unbelievable, and they stopped Quig. What an achievement!
Definitely.
And it's just you could see Carroll beating Herring, and just imagine then if they fought for the world title. So someone here local would be unbelievable. What a fight that would be!
Oh God, it would be outstanding. And again, you want to build Irish boxing. These are the kind of fights you want. Do you know what I mean? And especially with, I think one of the really interesting or really good aspects about that would be Carroll is obviously already a big name all over Ireland. Kind of, you probably have to say the main name in Irish boxing over the last decade or so. Andy Lee is one of the names who's really carried the sport in a professional sense. Katie, of course, but Carroll's been there, and obviously two-weight world champion, unified world champion, really has almost carried the sport and almost on his own for a few years now, at the top level. So that kind of the idea that him against someone like Jono, a kind of a loud, brash dub, which we haven't really had for a while, and even regardless of the result of that fight, I think it would do wonders for the sport, because you've got someone like Jono Carroll who's a big personality. You know what I mean? And again, is kind of from Dublin, from the capital. I just think that it would really invigorate boxing again. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so back. 100%. As you say, it has all the makings. You wouldn't even need to sell it. It's Belfast v Dublin, and then you've Carroll, who's a bit of a nice guy. You've Jono, who's the loudmouth. You could just see them. Jono squaring up them at the weigh-in and pushing.
They're putting it on him, yeah.
The build-up would be brilliant. It would be fantastic.
Yeah, and the fight itself, how I know you kind of don't want to give a prediction as such, but I mean, kind of, what do you think? All action fight, or I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, we've seen with Jono, you can kind of go both ways now. I mean, we thought he was just a bit of a brawler there for a while, but against Quig, he really showed up, didn't he? I mean, he showed a different side to his game. Really slick boxing, really, really good. Interesting matchup. I think like a proper tear up as well. What do you think?
I think it would maybe tactical for the first 3 rounds. I just think the crowd and that would come on it, and all hell would break loose.
100%. What do you think of? Well, is there another one that I find interesting? I always like to kind of ask the Irish guys, because it's so close to us. The British scene, and obviously the British scene is it's big at the moment. Sky and BT. Boxing's being backed again by the TV networks in England and in Britain. Is there any British names that interest you? You know what I mean? I mean, you have a few names there. I mean, you have the likes of both the McDonald brothers. Former world title challenger and European champion in Gavin. You have former, 2 or 3 time world champion Jamie. Kind of floating around super bantamweight featherweight. Isaac Dogbo, former WBO world champion. You have a lot of Thomas Patrick Ward. You've got Kesh Ashfaq. There's a lot of kind of good names there. Is there anyone that stands out to you that you would like?
No one in particular. All them names you mentioned, I would fight them. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah.
My aim is just getting this next fight over me, and then after that, put me on the fence. I wouldn't say no to any of them names.
Yeah, nobody
They're all
specifically in
they're all
mind, but yeah,
yeah. I just want to be back in the mix really.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's it, I suppose. And I suppose the goal is the world title, isn't it? So kind of get up the rankings and try and place
Yeah,
yourself.
100%. Even would be just a fight for a world title would be brilliant, but need to
Yeah,
get one or two free ones on the bounce first.
definitely. Of course. I mean, especially with MTK behind you. I mean, definitely you'll be positioned correctly, and it's
Well, they're doing a fantastic job, like MTK. You know, to just making serious waves. So they are,
it's really
and
it's exceptional.
a lot of credit to them for what's happening in the scene at the minute, because it was very quiet before they came along.
100%. You've got to say they have to take a lot of credit for the activity of professional boxing in Ireland. I mean, of course, you've got Boxing Ireland Promotions. You know, they're doing a good job. But MTK obviously have become a bit of a powerhouse, and they really are coming in, and they're giving a lot of Irish boxers a chance to turn pro and to really have a go at it. You know what I mean? A chance that maybe a lot of them wouldn't have got if it wasn't for
Yeah.
MTK. And that's a sentiment that a lot of the guys I spoke to, Declan Geraghty, Tyrone McCullagh, like a lot of Pierce O'Leary, like a lot of the guys are really, really owe a lot to
Oh,
MTK. And
100%.
yeah, no, they really are working wonders for Irish boxers in particular. 100%. So the last thing I would say, or the last thing I want to go to is a possible fight between Keeler and Quigley. And then we'll finish up. But I think that's another like really interesting Irish matchup. Have you seen the talk of that? What do you think that Luke Keeler, Jason Quigley at middleweight?
I seen the talk of it because I'd read it on Irish Boxing. I've seen Quigley. Not that I wasn't keen on it. I think he suggested Keeler go a different route, or maybe Quigley's going to go a different route himself. But again, we mightn't have these options if there's no international fights for a while.
Yeah.
So what a fight it would be. You know,
Oh,
it would be. I'm sure Luke wouldn't mind me saying it's sort of the boxer beat a brawler a bit, and
yeah,
I would love to see it.
I think it's a great fight as well, man. I mean, also, I mean,
And
go ahead.
let's just look his performances recently, the upsets he's caused, the Cummins, and then in Falls Park. You know, what a performance! You know, you can never write him off.
The fight against Luis Arias in Falls Park. I mean, that was one of the best performances from an Irish fighter that I personally have seen in
What a
recent
fight!
years.
Like what a win they get.
In my opinion, it was a
Yeah,
really, really strong win, because I mean, Luis Arias is a kind of legit top 20, top 15 at middleweight guy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Was really highly ranked with the WBC. He was top 10 the WBC at the time. So that was a really strong win, and Luke looked really good in the fight as well.
He
It wasn't
definitely
like,
does.
yeah, he won it by 4 or 5 rounds. Like he really did win it well. Obviously, not his night against Andrade, who, to be fair, is, I think,
Uh,
to be fair, he's just one of those world champions. He's a very,
yeah.
very, he's an
I
extremely
just
elite level kind of guy. But
it would have been good. I know we would have been up against it anyways, but just this, if he hadn't got caught straight away, you know, obviously you caught like that in the first round, your game plan goes out the window more or less.
yeah, it can be very, I suppose, very unsettling, and kind of can rock you a bit. Yeah, and as you say, the game plan then kind of goes out the window. It is really unfortunate, but when you're in there with the class of Andrade, sometimes it's difficult. But Luke will definitely come again. That's the thing about him.
Oh,
I
100%.
think like he has so many really good attributes, and
Yeah, his mental attitude's very good. He's so positive, and
yeah,
you know he's got a great mental attitude.
100%. Look, hopefully, we never know with these domestic fights. We might get Keeler against Quigley, and God, what a fight that is. Quigley's obviously, like Eddie Hearn's been talking about Quigley as well. Talks of him fighting Jack Cullen. To be
Yeah,
honest, I think Quigley, again, got a little bit biased, but I think Quigley will win that fight, like quite easy.
yeah.
I don't know what you
I think
think,
it's just
but
a bit soon for Jack Cullen, maybe. Although in saying that, I haven't really seen Jack Cullen that much. I might have seen a round or two, just to be honest.
yeah. I've seen a bit of him myself. Like he's very good and he's very entertaining. But I think Quigley's a lot more polished. You can see Quigley's kind of amateur background, and his technical proficiency will stand out in the fight, I think. And obviously under Andy Lee, I mean that's really
I know.
not gonna not going to be a negative in your camp, is it? It's going to be a
definitely not.
big benefit, like, you know. So I don't see a fight between Jack Cullen as good as he is, but you saw him box against kind of a better boxer in Felix Cash a couple of months ago, and he was comprehensively outboxed. Felix Cash is a very good fighter, but you know, Jason Quigley is, you would probably have to say, of even a higher pedigree and higher level than him. But I think interesting fight, and then, you know, if you never know, maybe get Quigley Keeler. But look, man, I've taken up way too much of your time. I really Tyrone, I really appreciate it, man. Really good chat, really enjoyed it.
Anytime.
100%, man. You're down, and I'm in Dublin as well. So when you're back down in Dublin and maybe all this starts to clear, I'm gonna hopefully get into the gym and talk to a few of the guys, and hopefully catch up with you again in person.
That's it. We'll get both Tyrones on.
100%, man. 100%. We'll try and get the camera in for one of these Tyrone Olympics. Sneak in the background. Look, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, thanks very much, man. Have a good time, and enjoy training down in Dublin, mate. Yeah, take it easy.
Well do. All the best.